On 29th November, with the Zong still far to the west of Jamaica, the crew, now numbering only 11 men, were assembled and asked what they thought of the suggestion that, faced with the water crisis, part of the slaves should be destroyed to save the rest, and the remainder of the slaves and the crew put to short allowance. James Kelsall later claimed that he was shocked and objected when he first heard the proposal. If that is true, his objections quickly subsided. The crew agreed to the proposal unanimously. No one on board objected to the suggestion that they kill some of the slaves, and they set about the murderous work immediately. At 8 p.m. that same evening, 54 women and children were pushed overboard, as Kelsall later described, singly through the cabin windows. The timing was important. Darkness was falling, and the change in the ship's watch allowed all hands to be available for the killings. 2 days later, on 1st December, a group of 42 men were thrown overboard from the quarterdeck. A third batch of 38 Africans were killed some time later. 10 Africans, realizing what was about to happen, jumped overboard to their deaths. Somehow, one of the Africans managed to clamber back on board. As with much of this story, there is some confusion about the precise numbers killed. One report suggested a total of 150 Africans had been drowned. James Kelsall thought that 142 Africans had perished, but the legal hearings in London later accepted a figure of 122 murdered, in addition to the 10 who had jumped to their deaths. Whatever the exact number, no one disputed that a mass killing, a mass murder, had taken place on the Zong. The killings took place in small, manageable batches. The men were thrown overboard, handcuffed and in irons, according to Kelsall, to make the process less dangerous for the vigilant crew. It was obvious to the other Africans penned below deck what was happening. They must have heard the killings. It was no easy matter to heave a human being overboard, even when they were shackled. Robert Stubbs, innocently marginal to those events in his evidence, later told the court, "I heard some of the shrieks of some of them. People tend not to go to a violent death without a noisy struggle, and though the evidence about the last brutal moments of the murdered Africans is sparse, we know enough, and can easily imagine more, about the screaming terror unleashed in the waters around the Zong on those early evenings, only days short of Jamaica. This terrible scene, repeated over 3 days, killed 1/3 of the Africans on board.